Let's give God some praise in his house. I know you're watching online with us as well, so come on and give your own praise unto God. I wish I could see and hear you, but I trust that you're giving God the worship, the praise that he deserves. And as I stated last Sunday and last Tuesday, is a very special Bible class tonight. So let us open in prayer. So Lord, we magnify your holy name. Thank you for your goodness, your grace, your mercy, your kindness, and all that you are in our lives. You've been good to us, even now this beautiful fall weather. And you're also giving us strength to make it through the turmoil of these elections that were last week. You renewed our faith and trust in you that everything will be. And pray for President-elect Donald Trump, whether we like him or not. We uphold government which you have put in place. And now, Lord, we just ask that we grow and learn and continue to do your will here at Victory Apostolic Church, where you have given us the mission of building victorious Christ-like lives. So we commit this Bible class that's dealing with building financial security this week, and then dealing with estate planning next week, wills and trust. We pray that you anoint our speakers. We pray that we will continue, Lord, to be wise stewards over the finance special Bible class tonight. This has been all year, the year of the family. So we started in January with classes on the families in Genesis, went through an entire book of Genesis, dealing with all the families that were in Genesis. We had an awesome family retreat in April, with over 300 people attending, from children all the way through adults, teaching again on family and using my family as the role model, because the reason we did the Year of the Family primarily was because this year my wife and I celebrated 50 years of marriage. And this culminated, of course, on September 8th. So good. And the saints had a wonderful and just tremendous time. So now I wanted to culminate the Year of the Family with finances. In my counseling that I do here, sure, I deal with all kind of issues, infidelity, violence in the home, all kind of stuff. But many times we don't talk about the role that finances play in families. Finances play a huge role in families. And because I am a certified public accountant, now I'm not telling you this to make no appointments, I'm just talking, so don't y'all listen carefully. So that's my skill set, besides being a pastor. Well, tonight we're honored because we have, first of all, with us tonight, Eric Grant. He will talk about his firm, Polaris Wealth Management, who has been my financial planner for 20 years, his firm, for 20 years. Have done such a good job that one day I'm going to be able to retire. Thank you, Jesus. So we have him with us here tonight. And in addition, he's going to be the primary speaker tonight, but next week, as the primary speaker, will be our board vice chairperson and a very distinguished attorney in his own right, Attorney Ron Austin, who's a partner with Grant Law, and he is going to present on wills and estate planning and trust, things that I am finding more and more that African Americans as a whole have not done a very good job of, and can easily now find themselves, after having been a Henry, and I defined Henry a week ago. Henry stands for $1,000 a year in the family. How you don't even have hardly any money in savings at all. Something is wrong with that picture. And even those who have moderate levels of income need to find ways that they can have a, how can I put this, that they can have a retired life that has some degree of freedom from financial stress. Financial stress is bad when you're young, but it's even worse when you get old. Because when you're young, you can find other jobs, you do other things. When you're older, and I witnessed it with my parents, my father blew his money for years, and I had to take care of him at the end, me and my brothers. There's no other way around it. Sometimes the most prudent in the family, no matter, I wasn't going to go that road, and I think you should make it up in your mind. So I hope you will take the advice that's being given tonight He is going to prepare and do his presentation now, and then as soon as he finishes, will be around a half an hour, then Attorney Austin's going to come up, join us, and we're just going to we take your questions. I'll facilitate, maybe have a few more things I want to bring out, and then we're going to repeat the same thing next week. So these last two classes, November 12th, November 19th, I think, are a great way to end this whole series on the Year of the Family. So at this time, let's greet Eric Grant.
I don't really like standing.
No, they don't have to do anything. You got it.
I don't like standing behind podiums. So.
Yeah.
Let me apologize first. I do leave my cell phone on. It's always on in case my children call. So if they call, I'll ignore them like I normally do. I'm going to make you two promises tonight. One is this will be the least boring financial seminar you've ever been to. And two, I ain't going to leave nobody behind. Third adjunct promise is you got to talk to me. I need you to promise you'll do that. Okay. All right, that's what I was hoping for. That's how you do it, all right? So, I've been a financial advisor for 38 years, and I am 39 years old. So I've had a chance to see a lot. I got myself to the position now where I can tell you exactly what to do about half the time. And the other half of the time, I can tell you exactly what not to do. And that usually suffices. The question I ask at the outset is, what does financial security mean to you? Right? Answer yourself quietly, but I hear answers like, I want to have $1 million, or I want to live comfortably. Well, in financial terms, that doesn't mean anything, right? If you want to have a new house, that's different than I want a $400,000 house in 5 years. See, we can plan for the latter one, right? What will it cost for you to be retired? What will it cost? What's the income you need? We can plan for that, right? Right with me? Okay, so quantifying and dating your goals is your first step in building financial security. So most of us have what I call the financial junk drawer. Am I the only one that got a junk drawer in the house? Don't get quiet now like y'all ain't got no junk drawer. Y'all got junk drawers? What's in your junk drawer? Junk, right? Don't get new on me now. Don't get new, y'all. In the financial world, it's a lot of things. You got a little retirement plan, a 401k. You might have some mutual funds. You just got stuff, right? CDs. Mama left you some bonds or something like that. What do we do with these things? It's a financial junk. It's just stuff. It's not all pointed in any given direction. It's just stuff that exists. What do you do with it? So for our clients, we use what we call the professional plan. Now, I don't want you to believe that this is the only way to do it. There are lots of ways to do this. This is just the way we choose to do it. And the bigger point is you have to have some order in terms of how you're doing this, right? Anybody ever heard the phrase, how do you eat an elephant? Ever heard that? Somebody give them the answer if we don't know. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, you know, I always tell people when they get themselves in a financial bind, you need to expect to spend as much time getting out of that bind as it took you to get in it. You want to pay off all your debt? How long did it take you to get in that debt? Give yourself that much time to get out of it, too. Don't try to pay it off. So this is what I call the professional plan. The first level is your standard of living. I think you'd agree there is no wealth building going on unless you have an income of some kind. Yeah? Okay, you can't do that without any level of income, right? No matter where it comes from, salary, if you have a business that you get income from, investments, pension, Social Security, wherever you get it from, doesn't matter, right? So we all agree on that, right? Nobody disagrees at all? Okay. Next level is cash management. This is where the fun starts. Part of cash management is budgeting. Anybody here ever ate worms before? Anybody had a taste of worms in here? Anybody ever do a written budget? Anybody know what that budget is right now? The numbers kept getting smaller and smaller. See, usually a budget is a piece of paper you write numbers down on and stick in a drawer and never look at again, except you. Put it on the calendar? Okay, that's a good idea. There you go. There's ways of doing it. If you're disciplined enough to do that, that's great. What I recommend to my clients is quantify and date your goals, commit that money to your goals, and do whatever you want to with the rest. Because that means your goals are met, right? Sometimes it's just easier to do it that way. There's a lot of ways to do a budget. There's an envelope. Everybody ever seen this envelope thing? You do the envelope thing? I never have understood that thing. But there's ways of doing it. But the point is, if you're going to have a budget, in your head and buy your goals. That's the point of cash management. So in this level, you're budgeting, you're reviewing all your financial obligations to see who you owe and how long you're going to owe them. And you're deciding on checking and savings. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people about how many checking and savings accounts they have. You got the little tricky account that you're going to have a debit card for because you don't want to have to touch that money because you ain't disciplined enough. I said, you got to get grown, right? Everybody got checking. My grandmother had 6 checking accounts at 5 different banks. She got old, didn't know what it was. You know, who needs all that? But if you got to do it, you got to do it, right? Next level is risk management. When I show you the next level, this will make a lot more sense. But this is where you manage the risks that could prevent you from keeping or building your wealth. You want to manage the risks. Got a look on your face, you okay? Manage the risks that could keep you from building your wealth. Let me give you an example. Get sick, can't work. That's a risk. What do you do about that? Oftentimes we insure it, right? You do something about that risk. Let me tell you the risk that many of us face that we really don't face up. What are we going to do with mama when she gets sick? Who's she going to live with? And can I still go to work if mama's living with me? Yeah? What do you do about that? You get together with your siblings and have that discussion about what are we going to do with mama, right? Even worse, the worst thing that could happen to you is get sick, can't work, and don't die. Now you're here and you cost money, but you're not making any money. What are you going to do about that risk? Right? So evaluate the risk. Oh, here's the other one. Cousin Pookie, you know him, right? Cousin Pookie always got a flat tire at midnight. Need $300 from you, right? What you going to do about Cousin Pookie? Don't answer the phone. That's managing risk, right? So that's your risk management level. Let me make that level make more sense to you, right? Because the next level is where we begin to build wealth. That's the savings level. The habit of saving is the single greatest habit you can have in building wealth. The habit of saving is the single greatest habit you can have in building wealth. Being able to accumulate money, right? Now, imagine this. You have a job, a standard of living that requires you to have your car. And you, for some unknown reason, have decided to not have car insurance. Against the law and everything else. This is a bad move, right? But you have $10,000 in the bank in savings. It forces you to have to go to your savings to maintain your standard of living. Y'all follow me there? Right? So if you put car insurance in between those two levels, you've basically protected your wealth from all that mess that goes on, from them bad decisions you made, right? From driving crazy, right? So that's why risk management is stuck in there like that. Savings. We recommend 6 to 12 months of your fixed expenses. Expenses covered if anything happens, whatever that anything is. 6 to 12 months. You use it for true emergencies. Now, what constitutes an emergency? Anybody in here know of a $10,000 emergency? Is there such thing in your life as $10,000 emergency? Or is that somebody else's problem? Kids, maybe? Funerals, right? Say again? Furnace goes out, right? So planning for those potential emergencies is important, and having the amount of savings necessary, access to that amount of money for those emergencies becomes important towards your goals. So I'm not going to do a long explanation on investments tonight because we could go into mutual funds and stocks and all that other stuff, but I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how to think about investments. Let's start with this. So because Pastor wants to retire, he decided he's going to take up a second job. He's going to be the manager of the grocery store now. Congratulations, man.
No way.
Sometimes it's tight. You got to do what you got to do, right? So he goes up in there because he's so smart, he's a CPA and everything, on smarty pants back here. He decides he's going to do you all a favor and put that can of tuna fish on sale for, watch this, $10 a can. There's a hush over the crowd, right? Pastor ain't smart as we thought he was, is he? How many of them cans you buy? Good answer. Good answer. So we go talk to him and remind him that he's a CPA. Dude, what are you doing, man?
I didn't hear what you said. I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm just saying, don't worry about it. He says, well, look, I'll make it up to him. I'll put it on sale for 10 cents a can. Now how many cans you gonna buy? All of them. You back up a truck and you take a whole bunch of them and sell them for $1 on the corner, right? Right? Okay, so you know the concept of buy low. You know that, right? Okay, let me keep going. You just bought that house. You paid $500,000 for that house. Nice house, huh? At least on the outside. They got a bad dog. They don't cut the grass. And for some reason, they got a washing machine in the middle of the backyard. You want to know why they got the washing machine in the backyard? Me too. I have no idea why they got a washing machine in the backyard. So now you bought a house for $500,000 and cousin moved in next door, right? Now your house is worth $400,000. Lost money, right? You lost value, right? If you sell the house for $400,000, then you lost money. Y'all get that? Stocks. You buy a stock for $100 and the value drops to $80,000, lost money, right? Lost value. You get your financial statement, you lost value. So we're not going to panic over that no more, right? In fact, we're going to look at it as that can of tuna fish, right? It's down. It's 10 cents a can. Yeah? Okay, so y'all get investing now, right? See, it's like investing 101. I get it for them. That's it. That quick, right? So the words that you see here or that you don't see are not important. What's important are the colors. Okay? So from left to right, that's the year 2000 to the year 2019. And from top to bottom, it's the top performing investment to the least performing investment. And there are investment categories like large companies and small companies and bonds and real estate. It doesn't matter what they are. The point is the colors. And you can see in any given year, an investment category is the best and can be the worst in the next year. What's that mean to you? It goes up and down. That's all it does is go up and down. What's important, though, to understand is it doesn't just go down and it doesn't just go up. It does both. It also makes the argument for a diversified investment. Invest in a little bit of everything, right? Because then you're going to win sometimes, you're going to lose sometimes. Up online anywhere. They produce them every few months to show you how investment categories fluctuate over time. So chasing your favorite investment isn't necessarily the best idea. It is called market timing. And people who do it almost always lose money. Don't chase the best investment idea. You want an investment strategy, okay? Everybody good? Any questions at all? Y'all good? I'm trying to give y'all.
They're going to ask them.
Okay. So this represents the cycle of emotions, right? I use different terms to describe this sometimes, terms that I probably shouldn't use in church. But let's talk about it for a second, okay? That's how the market moves. And if we look at the far left, where we're in optimism, the market's headed up. And we're optimistic about it, right? All the news says is things are looking good for the market. And we're optimistic, but we're in caution. Then it changes, right? Wow, it's getting really good out there. I think I want some of that. I think I'm going to look at investing some money. And then what do we do? Oh, like right now, market's at an all-time high, right? See that on the news? Looks really good, don't it?
Yeah.
So you go ahead and buy. You go ahead and buy. You see it coming, y'all? Do you see it coming yet? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see it coming. Uh-oh. Now you say, well, I did it now. Let me see what's going to happen. You're kind of indifferent about it, right? What have I done? You start cussing me because I'm recommending the investment, right? That boy told me to, right? You know what? I'm not going to do this no more. And you sell. What have you effectively done?
Locked in your loss.
You also bought high and sold low.
Yep.
Don't even sound right, does it? Okay, so now when you hear the news say the market's at an all-time high, how do you feel about that? You done bought his $10 cans of tuna, right? All right, I'm trying to get y'all massaged into how you think about this stuff, how you digest information you get from your financial statements, from your retirement plan statements, from the news, what it means for you. Now, I want to make sure I caution you, I am not saying you should engage in market timing, because something like 80% of the people who do that, they lose. Because you don't know what's coming next. You don't know what's high and what's low. You just don't know. So let me take you through something that we all do. If you participate in a retirement plan, you do this by definition. It makes you a financial genius. And you didn't even know it, did you? Did you? Did you? You didn't know that. The idea of dollar cost averaging is that you invest a regular amount of money on a regular basis without regard to market time. Okay? Okay, so maybe somebody can watch the math for me here, because it's going to get funny in a minute, okay? You ready for this? So you invest $100 that first month, and the price per share is $50. How many shares does that buy you?
2.
So you have a total of 2 shares, and you're worth $100. Yeah? There you go. All right, now it's going to get tricky, all right? Next month is $25 a share. How many shares does that buy you? 4 shares. You got a total of how many? 6 shares total. What's your total value?
200.
You got 6 shares at $25 a piece. 150. 6 shares, $25 a piece. 150. Okay, so now you've invested $200 and your total value is $150. Lost money, didn't you? Lost value. Who said that? You on my Christmas list. You lost value, right? Y'all with me? Okay, so next month, now you're really mad at me. It's $10 a share. Oh, Lord. How many shares did that buy you? How many total shares did you have now? What's your total value? Good math, man. You even got a calculator out. That's good, man. You've invested $300 and you got $160 in value. And I know you haven't lost money now, right? I know you know this, right? Talk to me, young. Right. Okay. So next month, it comes back up a little bit. Not where you got in, but it came up a little bit. How many shares did it buy you? And total shares? What's your value now? It's like magic. $500. You got your calculator out or what, man? It's all in you count on your fingers? Okay. So you've invested $400 and you're worth $500. You made money, right? No. ain't paying attention.
You got them. We going. Everybody
You
didn't
gain
take-
value, right? Y'all with me? So you say that's enough of that. You still cussing me. You get out at $50. You got 20 shares. What are you worth? Come on, math man. There you go. $1,000. So what happened here? You invested on a regular basis. The stock price only went down. It never even went up. And you more than doubled your money. Did I do a trick math there? Was it a magic trick? That's right, you buy more shares. That's the point. That's the game. When you're investing, you want to be accumulating shares. When you're investing in annuities, they call them units. You want to accumulate units. If you're investing in mutual funds, it's shares. Right? In retirement plans, sometimes it'll be units as well. You want to accumulate units. The trick is you want it to be at least where you got in when you're ready to retire. You ready? So you do this automatically because you take money out of your paycheck, every paycheck, right? And it gets invested. Only question is how is it invested? Okay. So that is our plan. The last step here is estate planning. Now, Ron's going to talk about that in more detail next week, but it don't make no sense for you to do a good job accumulating wealth and just let it go in the wind when you're gone. Let me tell you a little secret. This mission that you're on, life, you don't survive this mission. It's a suicide mission. You can't pull it off. It's suicidal. So something's going to happen to you at some point, hopefully a long time from now. But organize it. Anybody ever been at one of them funerals where everybody arguing about stuff? Mama said I was supposed to have that. You ever hear that before? Why do that? Even if you leave it to your cat, who cares? You don't like that, do you? Don't leave it to the cat. Yeah. Cat can't spend money, they ain't got thumbs, right? So estate planning involves, the essential part of estate planning is figuring out who gets what. At higher levels, it's seeking tax efficiencies and organizing it so people don't receive money in unfavorable circumstances. All those things are part of it, but do your own estate planning. Not everybody has to have a will or a trust, but you should have at least a will. Did I go out of bounds there? At least a will. Write it down. Write it down for somebody. Tell me. Question back there. Uh-oh.
For questions, you open up for questions? Ron, Eric, why don't you come here and why don't you come on up?
Let me finish up there.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't thought you were. I thought you were done.
No,
I'm sorry.
We'll
Didn't you
get to you in
just
a
ask
second,
for
okay?
questions? Didn't you just ask for
No,
questions?
she raised her hand back there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll take questions in a minute, okay? So that's what I call a professional plan. Again, the takeaway should be that there should be some order to how you do this. And if you decide to do it this way, it doesn't necessarily mean you do it in that order, but you need to make sure you address each level in a meaningful way, right? And the reality is if you live in life, you can't address each of those levels in any level of order. You're going to acquire things and do things different in your life that will address the different levels, but the point is to address the levels and build a stable foundation for yourself. I appreciate y'all time tonight.
So we're getting ready to open up for questions. So I decided I would start with the questions because there's certain questions that need to be asked, and especially among married couples, that if you ask it, if you ask, it's going to be a fight all the way home. So I decided I would do it. Put your questions down to either Eric, who is again a financial planner, and of course Attorney Austin, whose specialty is estate planning, who has done approximately how many people you say you've done estate planning for? Just a round number.
Well over 100.
Yeah, he's done well over, that's just at Victory, right? Just at Victory, he's done. See the kind of people we have here at Victory? It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have these qualified people in these areas. But so the first question, either one of you can feel free to answer. What do you do in a family where one of the spouses, let's say, is very disciplined about money, and the other spouse is totally undisciplined about money, and was brought up maybe because many times money and how you spend it is an attitudinal issue. When I'm gonna always have some money and I'm gonna spend it. So my father, as an example, came up really poor in the country. And one of his favorite saying was, they country. So my father's name is Andrew like mine, but he called him his own self A. I don't know where that started from in the country with these people. They just got letters. And my father be coming in sometime intoxicated. He would say, A keeps him some money. Well, what he would do is sometimes he would put a $50 bill on top and he have a big old wad, none but singles underneath it. Because for him it was important to have, but he spent it. And I'm setting this up for a story. So we moved from 57th and Lafayette to Chatham in 1963. I was 11 years old. My parents went to the bank, and that house now was worth about $150. It was $25,000 then. They needed to have up $2,500. My father told the banker, we don't have no $2,500. My mother, who ain't never had a job in her life, said, yes, we do. Because it was 7 of us, and when my father came in intoxicated, he never knew my mother was stealing his money. This is an absolute true story. And had that money. And after they put the down payment and got the house, my dad ain't never trusted my mother again. She always said, I know you got somebody hidden somewhere. Where is it? Where is it? But if my mother had not been disciplined, we wouldn't have had it. So I'm guessing, see where I'm tying in? What do you do except, I'm not talking about everybody stealing from their spouse. That's not the moral. That's not the moral of the story. The moral story is that you got one that's undisciplined and one that's disciplined. Anyone you want to comment on, what you think about that or how that gets handled?
With your spouse is getting on the same page about what you want to have in the future. I mean, what's the plan? And so if you start with, hey, listen, we really want to buy this house, or we really want to retire early, or we really want to do this, sort of tying in what is it that we want to do. And once we agree on what we want to do, then you start laying out, okay, well, if this is what we say we want to do, then we're going to have to put together this plan in order to make it work. And so when you first focus on what is the end goal, it makes it a little bit easier for someone who isn't as disciplined to say, okay, I see why we're doing this, because that's the goal that we agreed. We shared our belief as to what we want to have done in the end.
Excellent. You want to comment on it?
So I get, my clients tell me all the time that I offer a different kind of experience. I have a contrarian view on the social psychology behind money. And it's my philosophy that in order to breach situations like that, I have to pick a fight. I try to make them fight about stuff because a lot of the things financially that they don't agree on, they refuse to talk about. So I pick a fight. I literally stand between them and say, what, she said this about you. What you think about that? And I get them talking to me. And I intercede before fists start flying. And almost invariably, if you're dealing with otherwise reasonable people, if you're careful, you can get to a consensus. The problem is, and it has to be a fight more often than not, for you to get to the root.
So some of my best counseling, I tell people when I'm doing counseling, is when both people leave mad at me. That's some of my best counseling because I have forced difficult issues. And when it comes to what he's talking about now, he is exactly right. He did it to me. And you got to have people in your life like this because some people, and I'm doing moderately well, but I really wasn't spending anything. He said, well, how you going to spend it? I mean, you mean I can spend this? Because all I've done is save. And then you start getting in your 60s and 70s, and you still got a broke mentality. you're still looking at, okay, this costs $2.50 versus $2.85 and spend a half an hour figuring out which one you're going to get. And then got money all up in the bank. So he's done the same thing with me. He's done it with some of my close friends who I recommend. Trust me, he has not asked me to recommend him. I'm just saying you need somebody that comes in like a pastor, as an advisor, as an umpire, someone who helps you start looking at things differently. Does that make sense? All right, now I'll open the floor for questions to either one. We got something online. Thank you.
The first question is, what is the best way to secure your home to keep it out of probate?
But when I'm talking to people about estate planning, I always start with real estate because that's the thing that's going to determine what you need. Probate, for those of you who don't know, so probate is a court proceeding. So that's when you go in and you have the judge appoint someone to be the executor, which is the title we give if there's someone named in your will, or the administrator when you don't have a will. That's the only difference between those two. So when and the main thing that you're trying to do with estate planning is avoid probate because it's expensive, it's time consuming, it's a hassle, so you really are trying to avoid probate. So when it comes to your house, you have a couple of options. One, you can have someone else on the title. So think about it like this. Spouses typically have, both the husband and the wife are on the title. And they're usually holding the title with something that we call joint tenancy, which means you each own 100% of the house. So when one person dies, the other person doesn't need to do anything. They already own 100% of the house. All right, that's one. Another is something called a transfer on death instrument, which is, it's relatively new. It came about, I think, in 2012. And it's where you fill out a piece of paper. You say who you want to have your house when you die. You record that paper with the county recorder's office. Then after you pass, the person you've given it to has to sign another form saying, I accept this gift that came up with to avoid people having to go through probate without doing the last one, which I'm going to tell you about, which is a trust. The benefit of a trust is you transfer the title of the property into the trust, and the trust isn't a person, so the trust never dies. Right. So all you really need is a trustee who you've named in advance on the trust. And if there's a trustee on the trust agreement, that trustee can then sign the deed to transfer the property to the next person. So those are the three ways that you can transfer property.
Okay, next question. How do you best plan for retirement if you started saving late?
So the thing to remember about retirement is income. It's not big chunks of money. It's not brilliant investment ideas. It's income. So in retirement planning for what I characterize as the mass affluent, everybody, most of us are mass affluent. We're not rich. Some of us do okay. Some do well. But the mass affluent is the middle of the market. It's to plan for income. So if it's late and you're planning for retirement, you've got to find income, preferably passive income, but you got to think about it in terms of income. So, for instance, I see people trying to eliminate debt as a means for trying to retire. Well, that's addition by subtraction. It isn't necessarily the best idea to eliminate your debt as much as it is to find the income to cover your debt, right? So, buying real estate, if you're credit worthy enough and you've got the resources, starting a passive income business of some kind, of course saving, make sure you calculate your Social Security. At the end of the day, you have to find income. So oftentimes if you started late, savings is not going to be enough. It just mathematically ain't gonna work. So you gotta find income someplace.
Excellent. Did that take care of your two questions? All right, in-house, any questions? We've broken the ice. Anybody else have questions? Yes, please go right ahead. Nice loud voice. Here's the mic. And please speak into the mic so we can all hear you.
Not a problem. I have a question. When it comes to right now with investments, savings, and CDs, which would be a better option at this moment? If you had money that you wanted to put into something to get investments.
Yeah, so I don't want to sound like I'm avoiding the answer to that question, but it's really hard for me to recommend something without all the information.
Okay.
I dare say, though, that there are different you've talked about different categories, right? So CDs are one category, which would fit in the category of guaranteed. Investments, as I know them, are market-driven. That is, they're subject to market fluctuations.
Okay.
To my discussion earlier, it's a little bit of everything,
Okay.
right? Because some will be up and some will be down, but you have to find the right diversification. I would encourage you and everybody here to find a risk profile questionnaire for yourself. Oftentimes your bank has them. You can go to my website, polarisadvice.com, any mutual fund site. You can take a risk profile questionnaire, and that should tell you, based on your risk profile, how you should invest.
Okay, thank you.
And I feel that is and I'm a certified financial planner. So people ask me,
You're no good at managing grocery stores.
I'm not no good at what?
Managing grocery stores.
Oh, tell them what you sound like.
He ain't no good at managing grocery stores.
Yeah. So for me, you have to know yourself. That was one of the questions I was going to raise to you, that as you look at and do this risk profile, not only does it tell you your tolerance toward risk, maybe that's a good term, but it also ties into your age, and that is critical, because the younger you are, the more open you are to take risks, because you have more time if you're 25 years old versus 65-year-old to recover from maybe an investment that maybe didn't go bad, that went bad. But as you get older, you may have to see that different. He can see it different. I don't have any problem with that. All my designations. There's just something mentally wrong with me that if I see $1 and I know I'm investing it to make $1.05, if it's 98 cents, I got a real problem with that. Even though I know, like Standard & Poor's and the market over 29 years, it has exceeded investments, and I know all of that stuff. I've been to school, I got degrees in it. But it's about your own personal and how you view it. You understand? It's how you view things. I'll let you guys add to that.
Let me add something to that. So there's really only two ways to make money. It's you working or money working. And money working is investments. And sometimes if you get late in the game, to the point of the earlier questionnaire, sometimes you have to invest a little more aggressively to get aggressive returns. You can't avoid it. So age is an empty money.
All right. If you want to add to that, you okay?
Well, I'll chime in. I think it's important to, you're a little bit different. You're about to retire. So some of the comments you're making about is switching that mindset and starting to spend where you had always been saving. But I think I want to talk to the people who are on the other end.
That's who most of them are.
And you're either just starting. So I'll say a couple things. And then Eric did a nice job talking about budgeting. And I'll just start. And it's interesting. I was going to do this as well. He asked you to raise your hand if you had a budget. And then he asked you to raise your hand if your budget was in writing. And some of the numbers went down in the hands. And I see that a lot. And my little saying is, if your budget exists only in your mind, you don't have a budget. Having your budget in writing is important. Back when I was actually writing checks, I had my budget on a little piece of paper in my checkbook. Now I have it on the app on my phone. All right? But it's important for us to have a plan. And I thought, since this is a Bible study, I would throw a verse of scripture in.
Sure.
Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty." The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. If you have a plan for your money and you stick with that plan, that's what the diligent part is, you're going to have success. But if you're hasty, if you spend money as soon as that direct deposit hits your bank account, you're not going to have much success. You're going to always be living paycheck to paycheck. And so, really making that budget is the first part. So I'll just be transparent and just share with you my budget, because I hear people say, I don't really know how to make a budget. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. I'll tell you, I get paid twice a month, 1st and the 16th. My check, and I have it on my app. The money that goes out on my first check goes to my tithes. First thing goes to the tithes.
Preach!
right, is my savings. That's how I pay me. Saving your money is how you pay yourself. Then I pay the household bills, the electric bill, cable bill, all that stuff. That's on the first check of the month. Second check of the month, tithes, because it's the income. Savings again, mortgage, and my investment account. It really is that simple. So every time I get a paycheck, I look at my app and I say, oh, this is the first of the month, I'm paying these bills. I know exactly where my money is going because I told my money where it's gonna go. So at the end of the day, I'm not wondering, man, where all my money go? I can't pay the bills. No, I know where it's going because I told my money where it's gonna go. And so I think that's important for people to understand. That gets to the discipline piece that Eric was talking about. Making sure that you are following the plan. And so built into that, as I talked about, was the saving. I put some money in savings. I certainly start with my 401k. If you're not putting money in your 401k, shame on you. And if your employer is matching it, that is free money that you are not taking advantage of. Double shame on you. Make sure you, and then just lastly, my wife's in the back, she can attest to this. My plan is when I do my budget, I leave a little bit of money left in my checking account, but a bare minimum. I only keep in my checking account what I need to pay my bills, and maybe $200 or $300 beside that for something else. Any, and I hate this phrase, any extra money, because I don't believe anything's extra. Any extra money,
Lazy money.
I put into my savings. And I have a strict rule. Once that money hits the savings, it does not come out unless there is a very good reason. And very good reason in our household is, when it's time to pay the tuition bill for our college student. We also have a rule, and my wife can attest. If we want to take money out of that, she and I have to agree. I don't take money out of that account unless folks, just to get some idea.
Can I editorialize a little bit?
Oh, you want to say something?
Yeah, let me editorialize a little bit. I like to believe that I exist on the front lines of people's own personal financial catastrophes. One, let me say this. Don't allow yourself to measure yourself by your money. Our money is a placeholder. If you think about it, you don't even really want money. You want what money can buy, right? So I've watched too many people over 38 years twist themselves into a pretzel, largely because they've attached their personal self-worth to their money.
Preach.
So don't do that to yourself, one. Two, act like you've grown, right? You can put yourself through all kinds of gymnastics or create tricks for yourself. My wife, for instance, she'll love to hear this. She likes to set the clock in our bedroom 10 minutes ahead, so she'll be on time. Just be on time. I don't mean that for you, dear. But so you end up playing tricks with yourself, and I think that feeds into this tendency to value yourself, your self-worth, with your money. Your money is a tool to get what you want out of life, right? So, and I've had to push him on taking care of himself, on taking his vacations, on living his life. I find myself doing that way, way too often. If you find yourself getting in the habit of saving, which is a great habit, find a way to get in the habit of spending too, because that's what you've been getting ready for. So, I mean, I don't know if it means anything, but just keep that in mind.
And it's at the right time, because we're talking about, as Attorney also said, I'm talking about spending after a lifetime of saving. So I am similar to the person who asked the question about if you start late. I have been chief finance officer of 3 nonprofits organizations. Anybody working, they ain't got no money. So I put together, the 403Bs, because it's, nonprofit organization as opposed to 401Ks. I put all this stuff together, but we never got matches. It wasn't there. So I started late. So what I did is what he said. Early on, I accelerated what I put aside because I started late. And one of the keys to this, especially if you are an undisciplined person, is you never see it. What's that called? A tax shelter annuity. You don't ever see it. It's gone. When you get your check, It's already set aside. And most of them, especially where he had my investments, I got to go like through the National Guard or something to get my own money. Sometimes it takes 3 to 4 weeks, and part of it is they want to hold it. I understand the finance side of it and the time value of money. And so to me, if you start late, you do need to put as much as you can without, of course, hurting yourself. I am a prior tax preparer, and what some people would do would just be crazy to me because they like a big refund. I got fired from one of my clients because I figured out they were getting $4,000 a year in the tax return. I'm like, you're wasting, that's over $300 a month that you should have, and you're letting the government hold it. I got fired. I got him, so the next year he got $300 back, he fired me. Here was his logic. His logic was, well, I can't do nothing with $300, but I get $4,000 at one time. It may sound logical, but it really isn't, because another client who approached it the same way, who had a $200 a month a car note, her car got repossessed with money that she already had that she didn't even have because the government had it. And so you got to be able to try to understand how you see this, and your attitude toward it is everything. And I made another point that was very critical here. You have to agree. In my counseling, the disagreement around money, it is real. But there is financial infidelity that I deal with. When a husband and wife are supposed to be one and they make decisions about their money as if they're individuals, it is wrong. It is wrong. I'm waiting for a hand clap. It is wrong. No major decisions get made in me and my wife's house of 50 years without us agreeing. Never. And if she's watching right now, she's with her dad. The only one who ever broke it was her. Because when I first got married, from 23 to 27, I was undisciplined. I just spent money. And she was always on my case about how I messed all the stuff up. So when I got saved, got the Holy Ghost, everything changed. The first money out of my checks since the 46 years I've been saved is my tithes. For 46 years. And what some of y'all, you don't even understand. I mean, God will take that, and he said it in the Bible. So you quote in scripture, Luke chapter 6, give unto the Lord, pay your tithe. He said, you're going to receive blessings pressed together, shaken together, running over. I'm a recipient of that putting God first, he blesses the rest. I need some witnesses out here. But if you're a house filled with financial infidelity, you're going to always have a lot of issues, because now your spouse cannot. Because one spouse was responsible for it, and the mortgage had not paid it in 3 or 4 months, and the first time they knew about it is when they got the foreclosure notice. That's my life. Because the other person refused to be truthful. You'll never have a good marriage or good relationship with anybody if it's built on lies. No relationship healthy can exist on a lie. It has to exist on mutual trust. And when one fails, ownership and forgiveness. So I like the point that you made about you really need to find ways to agree. And if you know it's only going to cause a fight when you go home, I don't want to say make an appointment with me. You need to make an appointment with somebody that can sit down so y'all don't kill each other. That's what he said. And any other questions? Yes. We're going to, this is intentionally designed to go to no later 8:45. I'm letting you know that, because we haven't done this in like 3 or 4 years, so it'll be that long before you see it again. So we'll last about another 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll dismiss. Deacon.
If a person has a pension, should they still get into an unmatched 403B?
Yeah, it's not enough information.
Say that again.
If a person has a pension, should that person still get into an unmatched 403B?
So from a planning standpoint, it depends on the desired income, right? So the pension, if you stay long enough in most places, in many instances. So it depends on the income goal. If you don't want to stay long enough to get a pension big enough to meet your income goal, then you need the 403B to supplement that income.
I'll tack on to that too. So I think you should always max out your employer match. That's free money.
There was no match though.
I thought she was saying another one. Maybe I misunderstood.
Unmatched.
No, I
Not-
meant
not
the
matched.
403 being unmatched. I thought you said they had one that matched.
A retirement plan, or a pension rather, a pension.
Fine benefit pension.
Right, and this is the other point I was going to make. You could see the reason I have him because I don't stay up to date on this stuff anymore. This stuff requires constant reading because the tax laws change all the time. See, I didn't know that. Trump in office, just wait. So you got to be very well read. I just don't have time to pass to 4,000 people and read all that stuff. But in my remembrance, there were only two type of pensions. One was called a defined benefit plan, and the other is called a defined contribution plan. The defined benefit plan is what we call the standard pension, where you worked all those many years. Your employer gave you a nice sum of money at the end. Those are, you don't hardly ever see those anymore. Mostly now, they're defined contribution plans. They call them that because in one, the benefit is defined, and in the other one, the contribution is defined. So now you really have to plan because very few employers are really giving out a lot of money. You have to figure out for yourself, as he said, and make your money work for you and not rely on an employer. And another huge thing is I'm watching in my office senior citizens with no other source of income than their Social Security check. And I'm going to say it's sad. Never designed to take care of your retirement. It was always meant to be a supplement. And yet a vast number of people, that's all when my father retired, he got $1,300 a month from Social Security. If it had not been for me and one of my brothers, my parents would have been homeless on the streets. I'm telling you, you cannot beat being a person of foresight and discipline in your life. Because the next thing you know, you working, you making money, and you think it's going to keep coming, and the next thing you know, you 65, illness happens, and that cash flow is gone. You got nothing in savings, as he said. You got nothing in investments. And my father just became very depressed. And so, again, I really feel you have to take charge of this for yourself, which is what both of them are saying. Was there someone else over here? Yeah, Carl.
Yeah, my question is, I have two grandkids. One is 11, the other one is going to be 17. So just thinking about what you said about maybe leaving them something or investment, could I start with like a base of $1,000 each and contribute something to that each month for them to have something later on?
Well, the overall answer is to do it in a deliberate way that allows them to learn about investing, right? So set up an account at TD Ameritrade or Schwab or whatever they are now, and ask them to figure out where they spent most of their money last month. Maybe they spent them on some Jordans. So buy them a share of Nike stock and begin to teach them how that works. I think unless you're piling big chunks of money away for them, well, even if you are, I think that the act of doing that should include some level of education, and that's where you get there.
Very good. Even managing their money, but that was something, I don't know, it's like the shoemaker shoes got holes in them. You know, I just didn't think of it as far as they saw our disciplines and how we did, but I could have done a much better job of teaching them. They went and learned it on themselves. Yes.
Hi, thank you for your time. I'm nervous. I do budget. It's on my nightstand. I look at it every week on paper. Also, I'm in my 50s, and I have 31 years with my employer. In February, I can retire. I have a 503B plan. My question to you is, unfortunately, my daughter is still in college. I know I should think for myself, but people are saying, why would you retire while she's in school? And my response is, I took out a student loan. Why can't she take out one? I paid her first 2 years. So your opinion on that, please?
So let me say this out loud just so we all know what we're talking about. Children are, in a technical sense, financial catastrophes. They cost a lot of money. They start off their life, they don't speak English. They can't go to the bathroom by themselves. Who needs them, right? Having said all that, and I know y'all agree, you ain't got to say it out loud. We love our children. We want the best for them, and more importantly, we want them off of our payroll. So the question you got to ask yourself is the fastest way to get that child off of your payroll, and what does it involve you doing to do so? You can retire early and create a situation where that child stays on your payroll. You got to think about that. And it's math. It ain't even multiplication or division. It's just adding and subtracting. Beth.
Explain more what you mean by that. That they stay on your payroll. I know what you mean, but I just want to.
Well, so the point is to launch them, right? Is to, so that when they finish whatever level of education that they're pursuing, that they are positioned to support themselves, barring any emergencies that you might need to help them with. And then at some point, like, my wife doesn't like me saying this, but my children all went at least 600 miles away for school. And I worked my hardest to keep it that way, for them to stay 600 miles away. All of them are at least 600 miles away in Washington, D.C., Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. To the point where, watch this, I bought houses for 2 of them where they at, so they stay. But it serves them. It serves them because they need to be able to take care of themselves and eventually their family. And if we're not
Just because there's so many blended families today with incredibly complex financial situations about who gets money, who gets what. You may be bringing a child into the marriage that can't take care of themselves, or they developmentally disabled, or there's things going on from the previous marriage and the kids. I've seen complexities in that are mind-boggling. First thing I say to people is, before you get married, have all that worked out. Have every bit of it worked out. Because what you think it is not going to be once you tie that knot. So it is important that the more complicated it is, that relationship, when you marry somebody and it's the second marriage, blended family, I have seen families I've seen the husband and wife love each other and see them divorce. I've seen it because of the complexities that come with it, that neither one had the courage to deal with up front and just waited while the elephant in the room was always there. There's a quote by T.D. Jakes. I'm quoting T.D. Jakes. I don't know if I'm comfortable using this analogy in my own way, but T.D. Jakes says, there's a gorilla in the room. No one wants to deal with it. And he said, then it uses the bathroom in the living room. Now we must do something. All right, no. You got another one? All right here, then we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, okay, this is for Attorney Austin. You said earlier that a budget in demand that's not written down on paper is pretty much a wish. It's not I had a plan. I started a plan to budget.
A plan to budget.
And I have been on that budget that I planned, never wrote it down, but I planned that budget years ago, and I have stuck to it for many years, that same budget, but I never wrote it down. So I'm asking, can a plan also be a budget? Or can they be interchangeable?
The important part is, are you being diligent in what you're doing with your money? So if you're one of the rare people who have decided this is how much I'm going to spend, and you fix that in your mind, and you follow that, then great. I haven't met too many people like that. Most of them need it written. Somebody said they put it on the refrigerator. So you need to have it in front of you. And so I mean, it just gets back to anything else. I mean, I'm a big proponent of planning. I mean, anything you want to have success in life, you need to have a plan for it. And step one, then you have to follow the plan. Because too many people will create a plan, and then it goes in a drawer somewhere, and they never look at it. Which is why, like I said, the way I handle things is I keep it on my phone. So I have it ready, and I pull it up. It says budget, boom. I know exactly where things are gonna go. Same thing with anyone else, and with anything else. We were putting together, so I mentioned my daughters. We've been able to get one daughter through college. We have a second one who's in college now. But before the first one away, I was laughing at the can of tuna because I was bringing tuna to work every day because I was like, I need to save some money because she didn't pick the cheapest school. So I needed to make sure that I had a plan that we were going to be able to make those payments. But you got to have a plan. Otherwise, without having a laid out plan, it's a wish, and most wishes, unfortunately, don't come
Let me add something too. So let's keep in mind, in the context of planning, having a budget is an exercise of searching for a surplus. Right? Again, back to my original point, you have to spend less than you make so you can have a surplus, and the surplus buys you your goals. So however you get to creating a surplus would be my goal as a financial advisor, right? So if you had a plan, whatever you're doing, if it's creating a surplus, then it works for me. If it's enough of a surplus for you to meet your goals, then it works for me. I don't care what you do with the rest of it. The point is to meet your goals. If you have a plan or whatever you want to call it, and you're going to be able to retire, then I'm good with that. But the worst lie you can tell is a lie you tell yourself. And so, make sure you're honest with yourself about what is actually going on with your budget.
How many of you like Victory? We closing now, no more questions. How many of you like Victory because you love the structure and order of this church that you can see? That you rarely see in a black church. Now, am I right or not? Do you think that just happens by magic? Right now, we've been in a 1-month program. We do it every year that we plan for the next year. Already done. And in next month, all those leaders will have met, put together, and then my daughter, Karina Bundy, is the director of operations. Real goals, and you see it reflected when you come here. You don't have me getting up every week. Now, I ain't going to say nothing because it could happen. But you don't have me get up every week talking about, they're getting ready to cut the lights off. Now, we'll play with you and tell you if you don't pay your tithes, they're going to cut it off. And sometimes I ain't that far from the truth. But, we put some reserves away. There were times we didn't have it, but we were always moving to get the surplus. Always. Even when we were super struggling around here. Because financial stress, and we'll close on this, that's a monster. I know what it means to be broke. I mean, my wife and I struggled from paycheck to paycheck from the age of 23 to probably when I became vice president, chief finance officer of my first nonprofit, probably my early 40s. We struggled. And every nickel, dime, and penny. I did not want to live the rest of my life like that. And that's why I made the decision, you know what? You start getting a little extra money, don't spend it. Put it aside. And in financial planning, it's called TVMF. Time, value, money factors. The power of money that you just set aside and look at years later, it is astounding when you refuse to touch it. And other than, as we said, emergency, and as far as uses of money, that's your second use of money in the first place, is that you set aside. That's not your investment money. That's the money you set aside because the car is going to break down. The washing machine sitting in the middle of your yard, I guess it didn't work. So you do have to do that. But other than that, you set it aside and it grows with time. So I enjoyed y'all tonight. I can see y'all got a lot out of this tonight. I told you we'd be through at 8:45. It's 8:45. And we're going to be equally as good next week. You stole a little of Attorney Austin's thunder tonight, but he is going to hit with the will and the states and all this week as well. And I am talking to some of our members who master degrees, doctor degrees, and I asked them, how do you get in this? They said, we were never taught it by our parents. Even though they had all those degrees, their money management skills were god-awful. And when you're way up there making $200,000-300,000 a year, and all of a sudden one of the two people lose their job in the marriage, and no real plan to deal with that $5,000-6,000 a month mortgage, you're gonna be in trouble quick. So wise people, the Bible, you quote a scripture, I'll quote one. So in Proverbs chapter 6, it said, go look at the ant. Go look at the ant. When you look at the ant, you're gonna see the ant has enough sense to store food for the winter. You ought to at least have ant sense. To understand that you need to, if you are enjoying something today, if you want to enjoy it tomorrow, you need to put something aside. So thank you again, sharing with us online. Next week, we will continue this. Attorney also will have his own presentation, and then both of them will be right back up with me and ask and try the best we can to give more advice and answer your questions. So I want to quickly open up the doors of the church in case there's someone that maybe came. I didn't forget you, Tijuana. In case there's someone that came to be baptized, came to be filled with the Spirit. If not, let us stand for the benediction. Lord, we thank you for this wonderful class tonight. Thank you for so many people who come out, and I know much, much more are online, and thank you for sharing with us. When we get our monies together, we can be so much more powerful. So I am grateful, Lord, for do what they already know. Many people have tremendous knowledge. They don't share it, but they share because they want to see us as a people do better, and especially as a people of God. So watch over us and protect us. We honor and praise your name forever. In Jesus' name, amen. See you next week. God bless you.